Hello, and welcome to Prism. Prism is a design-oriented podcast hosted by me, Dan Harden. Like a glass prism that reveals the color hidden inside white light, this podcast will reveal the inside story behind innovation, especially the people that make it happen. My aim is to uncover each guest's unique point of view, their insights, their methods, or their own secret motivator, perhaps, that fuels their creative genius.
We're just back from CES 2024. I'm Anne Van Italy, Whipsaw's Director of Business Development, and of course, you need no introduction.
Well, I'm Dan Harden. I'm the founder and CEO of Whipsaw, and yes, Anne and I are back from CES. We are recovering. I'm literally recovering not only from a plethora of stuff that I saw, but also pretty nasty cold.
Yeah.
No one was wearing masks, I noticed.
I noticed that too. It felt like, compared to the pandemic years or even last year, like people were really back in full force and sharing not just great ideas, but all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's total circus there. It's crazy.
So you've been going for quite some time.
Let's see. I think my first CES was probably 1995.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I've never missed one except for the pandemic. You know, they just halted it for 1 or 2 years. That's the only time I missed CES. And it's always a trip to go there. It's, there's just so much stuff to wade through. And I always look for trends. I'm always looking for, a vibe, like what's actually happening, what's important to companies, what are they trying to sell us? Finding the gems amongst so much stuff is difficult. You end up you have to use this special selective mindset when you're there. You have to sense like the numbers of people that are going into a booth, like what's happening there, what's interesting. Or as a designer, sometimes something will just jump off a shelf at you and you have to go find out more.
Did anything jump off the shelf at you, like a literal robot?
There's always things jumping off the shelf to get our attention. Yeah, lots of robots this year.
Yeah.
There were a lot of robots in the last 5 years, but now robots they're becoming more ubiquitous. We're seeing them, offered to us in the form of course, little vacuum robots, but now little home assistants, commercial type robots that do everything like help during construction to medical applications. We're just seeing robots everywhere. But I'm glad to see there are fewer human-like robots. Mm-hmm. We saw a lot of those like 3 or 4 years ago, little robots that looked like little people. And I know that a lot of the Asian markets like that. We've known that from working with robot companies. But I'm starting to see more tools, robotic tools that do very specific things. They don't look like little humans.
Let's talk about the one that did look like a human. We got to go over to the Sphere, which was pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah, Sphere's cool.
And there were some of the humanoid bots there. What struck you about the way that that particular robot was designed or the way it was interacting?
Yeah, so the one that Anne is referring to, I forget the name of that company, but they took all of those learnings, I think, from Hanson Robotics.
We'll have to look that up.
They were really all about making the robot look as realistic to a human as possible. There are different schools of thought about what a robot should be, especially like a humanoid type. And this one was, I think what made it so extraordinary, and Hanson's robotics has always been this way, they're projecting emotion. And, it's a silicone face, it looks very real. She looks you in the eye. She has glassy eyes like we do. She has full expressions. Her cheeks move when she talks just like we do. And it is fascinating to watch it. You have to check yourself. You have to keep telling yourself, okay, I'm looking at a machine. It's like looking at a washing machine. There's no emotionality there at all. There's not even real intelligence. But you can't help it.
I thought it was really striking the way her conversational AI moved from not just what you would expect Google to spit back or something like that, but she made some interesting leaps in the conversation that were very human.
Yes.
The place where she fell apart for me was when she laughed. I mean, she didn't fall apart literally.
And those little tiny intonations, the little gestures she was making, And the funny little things that we all do, which we call personality, it was beginning to feel like she had a personality.
Yeah.
And she was a little snarky.
Yeah, she had a sense
She
of humor.
seemed intelligent. So anyway, it's all tricks of the trade, right? So
So we've opened the door to AI here through robots as the conversation point, but I think we could have easily gone the other way. Can you talk a little bit? This was certainly the year of AI hype at CES, but how are you seeing that show up at the show, in the trends, and then in hardware products in particular?
yeah, that's a really good question. There's been a lot of talk about AI in our field, and well, every field. It's influencing society in so many different ways. But I didn't see what I thought I would. There wasn't that much representation of AI at CES. AI so far is really software driven for the most part, and CES is a very physical experience. There's lots of stuff out there that's being offered to you as a buyer. There were a few little experimental things. The R1,
The Rabbit R1?
yeah, that rabbit. I didn't get to hold it. I
Yeah.
only saw it. It's this little orange box. Little square iPhone-y kind of thing with a display and some interesting little controls on it. It looks kind of toy-like. Is that right for what an AI hardware product should be? I don't know yet. We have to dive into this field and really begin to define what is the right moniker, the right signature of what AI is. How should we work with AI? What is the manifestation, the thing that you hold or talk to? It didn't look that inviting to me, this little box. Like, do I want yet another one? And then you have to keep your iPhone in your pocket, and it's another layer that you have to interface with. I'm not sure yet, but I want to keep a super open mind about it. And you got to start somewhere.
There was another one that Mark Wilson from Fast Company covered, Avi Schiffman's Tab AI necklace. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. Did you?
It was a necklace. I didn't see it at CES, but I must have been there. Of course, with 2 million square feet of exhibitors, it was hard to see everything.
Right.
But that one is recording conversations so that AI can analyze, ostensibly free from human bias, what is actually happening in those interactions, which is interesting if you think about self-reporting and the bias that we put in our own data by
Right.
relaying it ourselves. On the other hand, I think that brings up a lot of interesting questions around security and personalization. So that was the next trend that I wanted to make sure that we touched on, the way that technology is integrated into people's lives. What did you see?
Oh, if anything, that was the trend. It's how infiltrated tech has become within all of our lives. It is everywhere, and I'm glad to see that people are less worked up about it being everywhere in their lives. We kind of accept that it's an ambient part of our experience. And if things don't happen seamlessly in our life, we get kind of ticked off. Whether you're driving in your car and it's not responding to you, or you're working on your phone or on your computer, or just walking around your home, you expect your home to be smart now. I mean, just that 10 years ago was a big idea, and now it is commonplace.
I was seeing a lot of that in the health tech there, remote monitoring, especially for seniors or vulnerable populations. In what other ways is the environment around us getting smarter? Anything that surprised you?
Yeah, actually, let's stay on that health tech, because I love health tech. I like how health tech and tech have, the health and tech have finally come together. Mostly because of sensor technology. So you're able to gain so much information just by certain types of sensors worn on your body. You're able to infer certain things with that tech, and then it gives you some kind of enablement. It's gone beyond just heart rate monitors and blood ox measurements. It's catching moods. It's understanding proximity and your feelings, and it's merging in with apps on your phone. And so, and on top of that, I think even more importantly, it goes from health tech into wellness tech. That's not a term, but wellness.
Yeah.
Combined with technology. I started to see a lot of, even like massage type they were tables and like meditation platforms and everything about wellness. Everything is like feeling good. And I think it's partly because we came out of the pandemic and we realized quality of life is kind of important.
Yeah.
It's not just about productivity. So I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of people, and technology is answering this new need, this new desire for true wellness to be in your life. And I'm encouraged by that. That was like in the North Hall. I think that was one of the best things I saw. And even some of the booths were looking more like homes. There's this, like soft, warm tones, and some of the tech was looking more like furniture.
Yeah. Mattress sensors.
Yeah.
For one. I was struck
Sleep tech
by-
is big. Sleep tech. My
Everybody
God.
wants to sleep more.
Yeah. Sleep is hot now.
Were there any trends in either materials or color that stuck out to you? Vibrancy. I know we've gone through a couple of years that seemed pretty sedate in terms of appearance, all looking for that high polish.
Yeah. Good question. I did not discern any kind of like color trends. I wouldn't expect that at CES. It's not really like a fashion or a design show. It's like free enterprise on crack. Just like they'll throw anything on the wall to see what sticks. And these companies, and so many of the products you see are absolutely ridiculous, and they won't be back next year.
It also seemed like some of them, because of advances in sensor tech, still on the health and wellness side are getting much smaller. I'm thinking about some of the wearable monitors, health monitors.
Yeah.
Are you seeing anything in that way?
Well, in regards to some of the, especially materials in regards to those sensors,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of advanced medical grade polymers, a lot of mixes of silicones that are coming out that are really interesting and I think applicable to that category. I don't really see design transforming, or coming out of CES. You'll just see so much that, you've got some, yes, miniaturization and intelligence as far as materials and processes. And then on the other hand, you'll see a complete abolishment of all design maxims on the other side.
I want to see that product.
Oh yeah,
So
well,
listen,
there's more of
you're
those
like-
than there are good examples.
There were
But there are some amazing. I mean, you just walk in the LG booth or Samsung and a few other companies where it's just like everything is really well considered. It's beautifully designed.
We got to talk about the invisible OLEDs, the transparent TVs.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I don't know, ever since the dawn of the flat screen TV, right? LEDs and LCDs, then LEDs, then OLED. CES has always been like a television war game, right? Who's got the biggest TV? Who has the most? Who has the highest resolution? And 10 years ago, people would walk up these TVs. Oh my God, you can't see the pixels. I didn't see any of that. Now it's like everybody's kind of caught up with everybody else. Even like tier 3s, the TCLs, they look great. They're all good. So it's like they're all looking for a new frontier. And but what was your question about?
Oh, I think the interesting thing about that was when you think about the integration of technology into an environment. If your TV is completely clear, you can.
Oh, clear, right.
Yeah.
We're going to see it that sticks. We've been talking about, us designers have been talking about transparent displays for a long time. And I'm going to guess any listener of Prism, you probably even dabbled with the design with clear displays. They're getting clearer and clearer to the point where they're almost transparent, but they're still translucent. Mm-hmm. There were some companies that were trying to place televisions in front of windows, which I thought was interesting. So nobody likes to have a big black thing. Look at, there's one sitting right there in any room.
Yeah.
But so the thought is when it's off, it's clear and it's a window. Mm-hmm. So it becomes more useful when you want to pull the shades down if you want to watch a movie. So now you just turn the TV on. That's kind of a cool application. I don't know if that's enough to warrant the development or the purchase of a display. I think there are probably much better uses for clear TVs. I didn't see any good examples of applications where I thought that's the killer app for a clear display.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next year with that.
But it's getting there. That's one thing about CES. It's like every year you see it inch forward. It gets better and better and better. And I don't think there's an end to it. We just keep,
not.
with all the curiosity of us designers and engineers and technologists, we always want to better our world.
With all the curiosity of designers and engineers and technologists, what did you see in terms of sustainability or materials or anything that will allow the planet to continue?
Yeah, one is I wish I saw more.
More sustainability?
In regards to sustainability and the environment, most companies still do not pay homage to it. They'll talk good talk, but they don't really practice it. The one company that really surprised the heck out of me was Panasonic. I mean, Panasonic, they make razors, TVs, microwaves, right? I did not expect any surprises from Panasonic. And yet, I walked in there, they dedicated half of their booth, which is already a giant booth, to sustainability plans and strategies that went way beyond just materials. They have machines that disassemble other machines. They have plans for like going to the actual raw materials. Every aspect of sustainability and eco-intelligence was represented in the way what they were showing, including some really interesting proprietary materials that were made of 80% compostable materials combined with a compostable resin. So in other words, they were taking like 80% coffee grounds or wood waste products from paper, and they were mixing it with a resin. And this canary material, they call it. I thought it looked, for a design application, it was beautiful. It was tactile, it was attractive, it just had a nice mass to it. It was weighty, and it felt like the good old cellulosic plastic, like Bakelite from the 50s. It had that kind of quality to it. Other than them, sadly, I didn't see.
There were food growing, like greenhouse boxes and things.
Yes,
some award
true.
Winners in that way. Food.
That's another one. Food was big, like food making machines. Everybody wants to be their own Gordon Ramsay. She's staring at me.
You say that because you look like him. Oh my God.
I'm told I sometimes look like a better version of Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, that's funny.
But I think it's cool what's going on. I saw a really beautifully designed beer making machine. It's like, wow, that's really cool. And you put in your own hops and barley and all the other ingredients and let it cook away for a week. And it was this really beautiful thing. And I tasted the beer. It was fantastic. Yeah, it's like good draft beer.
If you had to give out kind of notable awards for the booths that you were in there, is there one or two that you would have spent, or that you kept going back to, or that you would have spent more time in if you had it?
Yeah, good question. I like the Kohler booth. The Kohler booth, I think, is good, partly because they plumb it. There's water.
It's
They
such
have
a lovely
hot tubs in there, and it's you hear water throughout. There's showers
Smells good.
going. It smells good. I think they care about design. Kohler is one of these companies that is just very sensitive to how we all feel, and they should, right? Your bathroom that's kind of a pretty wonderful place if it's well designed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It should be a
So
pleasurable
tranquil.
experience, and that's kind of a new way of thinking about a bathroom. Most people have not in the past really. The bathroom is kind of a place you do your business quickly and get out, but no, it's a destination like a kitchen nowadays. And I think
somewhere to
that's
style.
kind of exciting. Why not? I also like the Kia booth. We should talk about Kia. Kia, this Korean company, kind of blew me away.
Tell me.
You typically go to a CES and you'll see in the West Hall now. It used to be North Hall, but in the West Hall, they have all these automobile companies are there. And starting about, 7 or 8 years ago, when EVs started to get hot, we realized that, well, the car is not just a piece of hardware, but it's moving software. So big displays started to occur. Now all of a sudden, like whole windshields are a display. Talk about transparent displays. And you have access to any and all information around you, in addition to other drivers on the road. So it makes our roads safer, it makes it generally better, it makes it more engaging as a driver and as a passenger. But Kia, instead of just doing that again, or advancing it, which would have been great. Hyundai did a really good job of doing just that, just bringing more tech, more experiential design to the automobile. But Kia did kind of a sideways jog, and it was really interesting. They looked at transportation, specifically like commercial transportation of goods, in a modular manner where the case itself became part of the exterior housing of a vehicle. And that was modular. Then there were smaller, I guess you could call them like vans, but they were stunningly designed with so much thoughtfulness, every little detail in them. Just, one thing clicked into the next. There were rail systems and common electronic parts that you could use in different places. And it ended up being not automotive design, but it was more traditional industrial design. They had this seat that I thought was really clever. You could face forward and backwards, but instead of swiveling the seat, the way that it moved to pivot from the front to the back of the seat, it was just really cool. You have to see it. And then they tied the whole booth together. You talk about like a really interesting booth. They had like a color themed booth where they were leaning into more of the eco story, the modular story, the commercial story, and then like a family story. And the way they tied this together was beautifully done. They used color, they used cartoons, kind of like animated little people. Uh-huh. It was super cute. Did you see that booth?
I didn't.
It's so good. It's so good.
On the cars.
That was probably my favorite booth.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that. I want to find some pictures of it. Maybe we can link it in the show notes. There was another question I had. I saw a quote that from someone else about one of the trends at CES, that your home is your car and your car is your home. Did you see any of the personalization of vehicles that surprised you?
I didn't see a lot of personalization, but cars are becoming, they're becoming like more little environments. Cars have been designed traditionally where you have this rather uncomfortable entry and exit experience, right? It's not easy getting in and out of a car. You have to bend your body kind of funny. Yeah. We're all used to it. It's automatic, but it doesn't make a whole lot of human factor sense when you think about it. But now, especially with self-driving cars, it doesn't have to be that way. So the car environment is becoming, I think, much more thoughtful. And it feels, like a little mini home. I did see a couple of these camper type. Did you see this camper? Yeah. What was the name of that one? It was really interesting.
It was one of the first things that I saw, and I can't remember if it was Sony or...
darn it, we got to find the name of that, because that is
the one with the shower, and it was just
very well
nifty.
Done. Yeah. It's very well done.
Let's talk...
But I think that comes from this whole, roaming around during the pandemic.
Yeah, and wanting more access to outdoor spaces.
And that's become a whole subculture.
Although I'm not sure I'm into the TV in a box that you can use out at your favorite national park.
No, I'm pretty
thumbs
down on that too. Yeah, there were some weird glamping type products. The one at I think it was one of LG's experiments where they had a
lab. Yeah,
like it was kind of a television that was it was in a case. It was like a big Zero Halliburton case, and it deploys and it comes out, and you carry this big heavy battery to power the TV. And they were promoting it as a camping television. I'm like, well, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
I did not like that.
Let's talk about AR and VR. I think there's definitely some buzz around.
Oh man, it's about time.
Yeah.
We've been talking about virtual reality for 3 decades. Almost 3 decades. It's mid-90s when people like Jaron Lanier were really experimenting with it. I like it because it pushes the experiential boundaries out. It allows you to see and feel things that maybe you can't otherwise. We can't all travel anywhere in the world at any time that we want. We can't experience things. We can't learn things without more visual cues, tactile cues. And I think because Apple finally dove in, we're all going to see how successful this is going to be. But they made the big commitment. And I think a lot of people have realized if they're doing that, then we should probably get on this now more seriously. The gaming industry embraced it many years ago, but it will become more mainstream. And I was glad to see that. It still applies wonderfully to gaming. And there are a lot of good examples of that at CES. If you're a gamer, you hung out in the main hall on that western side of the hall where there's just one gaming company after the other.
Yeah.
And some of these companies just went crazy with gaming. Did you see some of these?
I really got to pop into one of the gaming rigs and play around a little bit. It was fun.
Yeah, like the VR racing, the VR roller coaster, and now they're complete with blowers to make you feel like you're really on the track or on the roller coaster. And it's the resolution's increasing, the audio is much better. It's truly immersive, and I find it kind of exciting. I don't want it to be a form of escapism. I don't think it is. I think people are really enjoying it, and I'm really encouraged by VR as applied to education. Most of us are visual thinkers. More than half the people learn visually, and this is such a great tool. And I think we just barely touch the surface of its potential.
I know our topic here is CES, and we've gone down the AR and VR path. It came up in our staff meeting today, and I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how we use it for design.
Me VR?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of the projects that we have are, like large machines that you get in or on, and in our imaginations, we can already do that as designers. We already can visualize what that experience would be like, but our clients often cannot. So when we can actually put a VR headset on a client and have them see what we see as their potential future, it gets them very excited. That's one way we use the tool. And the other is sometimes as we're designing it, we need to check scale, especially. A lot of designers are working in CAD. You're designing something that might be 8 or 15 feet long, and yet your CAD display is only a 23-inch display or whatever. Scale is so important in design, to understand the dimensionality of things. And you put on your VR headset to check it, and you find yourself often saying, "Oh, wow, okay, that just doesn't feel right." So it's a good way of validating and experiencing for yourself what a design could be like.
Yeah, thank you. I think you had a couple other observations that you wanted to share before we wrap up.
Let's see, what else did I see there? Age tech. Did you see that?
Yeah.
The age tech stuff was pretty interesting. Finally, products for the aging population have kind of been shunted aside for a long time. It just didn't seem like an exciting category. But this year, I saw was that at the Venetian? Whatever. There was like a huge dedicated area to age tech. So it's a technology that was simply for enablement, but they were doing it. I saw a lot of companies that were showing lots of empathy, showing a lot of respect. It wasn't like in the old days where age tech was a telephone with giant buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, so you could see the buttons. No, it's really great because, even though the population has, I think, become more ageless and more homogeneous as far as how we interact with products, still the aging population does need, especially when you get up above certain ages, that there's a different perception of technology and there are different needs. And to provide more universality of product solutions, I think, is one of the jobs of designers. So I was glad to see more emphasis on it. I think that's only going to grow.
I kept hearing about the for visually impaired people, a couple different versions of canes. I thought that was interesting. One with a robotic tip, and then another that gave audible directions to someone who was struggling to see. There seemed to be more products geared towards accessibility, input devices, tremor control device.
You know what? That's so true.
Yeah.
The one company we talked to called Glidance, I really like that product.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a little robot. Instead of somebody that is visually impaired that would typically use a cane
Or a dog.
or dog, and there are more than 7 million people that have this impairment, it's a little robot, and it will guide you around obstacles. It will stop you at curbs. It can talk to you. You can talk to it. So it was very responsive. And I was really proud because one of the principals there used to work here at Whipsaw. And I'm not giving him a plug. It's just but I am.
But we can.
Yeah. So it was that was really a cool product. That was one of my favorite products there.
We had so many great conversations. Last question, and then we'll wrap up. If you could take any one thing away from CES, not a lesson, an actual physical object.
Oh man.
I know. What would you want?
Well, let's see. I saw a flying hypercar.
That was pretty amazing.
That was weird. It was weird. I mean, it looked like a Lamborghini Aventador with 4 drone blades on top of it. Did you see that thing? That's nuts.
I didn't see it flying. Did they operate it there? Or was it?
No,
I'm like,
it looked as if it worked.
okay.
But does it? I don't know.
You confirm.
So would I take that? I don't know. You know, that'd be just for a kick. Yeah, sure, I'd give it a go.
All right. Well, I can't wait until next year to see how AI is baked into the hardware and to experience the energy that was there this year.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Especially compared to last year.
Yeah,
It
I
was
want to see
beyond.
how AI. I'm super excited about AI. I want to see more manifestations of it, and to see the human creativity use AI, and the two complement one another, and how that's going to come out in lines of products years from now. Oh man, that's going to be incredible. That can change CES. So yeah, I agree with you. The future looks bright. Tons of challenges, especially on the sustainability front. But otherwise, I just remain so darn excited about CES.
It's also fun to walk around because we've worked with so many of the organizations
it is.
there. What a privilege.
Yeah, it is cool to go around and see like, oh yeah, we did that 5 years ago. There's that one. We just finished that one. You know, that's cool too.
Well, thank you so much for sharing
Oh heck yeah!
your thoughts and observations.
Thanks, Ann, for
Total
getting me
blast.
to sit down and talk about it. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Prism. Follow us on whipsaw.com or your favorite streaming platform, and we'll be back with more thought-provoking episodes soon.
Prism is hosted by Dan Harden, principal designer and CEO of Whipsaw. Mix and sound design by Eric Buell.